Okay, ready? I'm ready. You're ready. Welcome to Sky's coverage of this pool game in the Showcase Arena at the WFDF World Under-23s Ultimate Championships. I'm Tom Stiles, and I'm joined in the commentary box by Julia Murray, GB coach, GB All-Star, and our female colour commentator for this game. How are you doing, Jules?
Yeah, good. Just looking forward to what's going to be probably quite an awesome match.
So these two teams have got quite a history at lots of different levels. I remember seeing them compete in Vancouver in 2008, competing for the Women's Championships there, and also two of the top women's teams at Worlds in Prague in 2010. That was one of the games of my commentary career. Just phenomenal play from both teams. So, but have you seen them? You've seen these two teams play together before, the under-23s level? I guess it's difficult to see that game, isn't it? That's the key thing. That's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah. I think it's mainly what you're going to see here is probably just more the styles of the countries, which is the interesting bit. So it's a case of Japan are incredibly clinical, nothing goes to ground, they've all got each other's backs, whereas USA, obviously they've got a lot of confidence, they've got a brilliant structure within their country to support the growth of Ultimate. So the players coming through, the amount of applicants they get to then pick this team, it means something to be on this team. So I just think here is what you have is almost like a clash of the titans of two incredibly strong ways of playing Ultimate, kind of the big game swagger versus the clinical diligence, and it's whichever one tends, it goes both ways between USA and Japan all the time. So I think here it's just whichever team that sticks to the way its nations play, that's the team that's going to win.
And this is why Julia is here as our colour commentator. Or Jules. Should we stick with Jules? We'll stick with Jules. Okay. So we've got two fairly big squads. We've got 21 players for Japan and 24 from the USA, all making the journey over to London for this fantastic tournament. And it's been a bit the first day. It's been drizzling on and off, but fairly heavy drizzle at times. So that the pitch is soaked, but it's holding up well. After we've just seen the Italian-Mexico Open game, and we saw this morning there was another game, Denmark-Netherlands, but I'm not sure too much wear and tear took place there because it was a bit of a one-sided affair. And your team, Jules, the GB Open boys, have just had a game against Netherlands, a similar sort of one-sided match in that game as well.
Yeah, I think there it just Netherlands just put their hearts into it. They played really well. It's just a difference of level of ability, really. So, I mean, at no point were they getting angry or frustrated. It's just, I just think, we were the better team.
The youth system and the college system we got in Great Britain is paying dividends, and that seems to be one of the interesting things about this under-23 tournament. Is it's really a sign of the strength of the college system in the various different countries, rather than necessarily the individual players that show up. Would you say that's a fair reflection?
I think, yes, definitely. It's a little bit of both. We occasionally, because our college and university Ultimate's getting better, it means we then, at that level, are attracting better athletes who maybe would have gone into another sport originally, but now, because of the great atmosphere and because it is a higher level of Ultimate, people are more likely to come and play Ultimate now who are actual sports people from other sports. So I think we're bringing it in from everywhere still at the moment, and that's what makes it so sort of unpredictable about who's going to be on what teams at the younger levels.
Fantastic stuff. So the USA taking their line, and Japan still in a huddle at the other end of the pitch. We've got full complement of game advisors for this game. The yellow shirts around the outside. If you've not seen a game with game advisors before, they are slightly different from what you might have seen with observers in the USA, in that they don't make active calls, and but the only active call they do make is offside. So they will. Even that isn't an active call, is it? It's an advisory. So they'll advise you if the other team has gone offside. It's up to the other team to then call that offside. And there's a few penalties and extra rules that will explain a long way if that occurs. Have you played a game with game advisors with GB Open yet? How was it?
So we obviously had the show game against the USA yesterday, and we had the advisors there, and they were fantastic. Just like an impartial view to kind of help the players sort things out, but still respecting the judgment of the players and giving them the space to make the calls, which I think is what this game, that's the important bit, is trusting the players to know what's right and having the confidence to say it.
So a nice balance between having some professional officiation but still leaving the decision-making or final balance. The wind is blustery, and we're standing on the top of the stands at the far side of the pitch. You can probably see us at the top of your picture as we pan across from this Japanese pole. Myself and Jules are both wearing bright red coats, so if you see us getting blown about, that's where we are. It is getting a bit wet up here, but we will struggle on. And we hope you do enjoy this game. It's going to be great. If you are watching, give us a tweet. And we kick off with the USA with Erin Schroeder, 22 shirt of Jackie Verjou, making advancing, passing nicely into the corner for an early quick score for the USA, and it goes in, no problem at all. Number 10 for Shearer Stern with the score, and that was a very quick play, making it flowing down the open side and getting her feet in, no problem at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's just that aggressive play. USA are always going to back themselves until a team shows them otherwise. So they'll happily go deep for stuff, put things up, and especially in this wind as well, they're just going to say that we're going to trust our receivers and our disc skills to come down with things. So I think there it's just a case of Japan need to not assume anything and just sort of sit deep on the players and make USA work for it a bit more.
So if you are watching, wherever you are watching in the world, we've had about 600 people watching some of these streams during today, which is fantastic for the sport of ultimate to get that sort of level of interest. And that was in the Italy versus Mexico game. So if you're watching in Japan or you're watching in the USA, it'll be a very early morning in Japan, or in fact it'll probably be a terrible middle of the night job for Japan, won't it? But a nice sort of midday. We're out midday in the USA, maybe mid-morning in the USA if you're watching, depending on whereabouts on coast to coast you are. I hope you're enjoying it. Give us a tweet at Sky Magazine if you want to send us a tweet. Japan now with Taku Ruma, number 2. Four handlers at the back, very compact horizontal stack here, not going any deep options, but they've obviously set up to combat this USA zone. I don't know if they had a look at that earlier in the tournament and that's how they decided they were going to play, but a mistake. Disc coming in over ahead, difficult to get hold of that one. USA have got the disc and they're making a quick start, and it's going to go to ground, just catching the wind and pushing it down. Bit of a mistake on the USA having got that turnover. And the Japanese offensive setup there, Jules, was very, very compact. Have you seen that sort of approach before?
I think, so this is where the women's game is slightly different sometimes to the men's, which is if we know the sort of around passes are slightly more difficult, we're going to put people in to make 2 or 3 passes rather than just the one. So yeah, I mean, I'd say here is the case that they're going to trust themselves in their short passing game over putting something up big, which is probably what the USA want them to do. But right here, they need to get closer to them. I'd say downfield, and then get their sort of handlers running through a bit more to actually attack the zone and not make it so easy for USA to just sit on them.
So we see the turnover there with eventually trying to make that pass forward. It didn't work out. USA with Miller. And a nice disc into the end zone. It's going to get us go for a score. The 16 shirt of Megan Cousins there with the score. And the offense, so the defense of USA, big, heavy zone, forcing the Japanese ladies back into the back of their own end zone. The disc to try and escape didn't work out, went to ground, and very quickly they get that disc into the end zone themselves. And USA have got a 2-0 lead at the start of this one. You're watching Sky Magazine's coverage of World Under-23 Ultimate Championships here from St Albans near London in the UK with myself, Tom Stiles, and I'm joined by Jules Murray. It's a blustery and slightly damp afternoon here in the UK. We're watching Japan versus the USA in the women's division. It's 2-0. So USA with Schaffner with the big pull. Sends it deep. Hamashima into the middle. Takura. Back to Takura again. Ito. Big bid, but no. Japan have still got the disc, number 7. Shimada. Looking for something in the middle, looking for someone down the line. Not very many options, and a big bid from the USA. That disc floated up into space. There wasn't really the most solid or committed of passes, and there wasn't very many cuts for her to throw at either. Ran out of options, and the USA have got the turnover they deserved. Johnston finding the middle of the pitch. Nice. Normile. Just goes down. It's a turnover. Japan have got it once more. Hamashima comes to the disc quickly. Crossfield pass. Shimada in the 7 shirt. Quick cuts. And floated into space. Just manages to hang on to that one. Into the end zone. It's nicely done and steady. As the first time we've really seen that Japanese offense flowing like we know that they can. A little bit more confidence in their play the second time round, but nerves the first time, and that's what caused that first turnover.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe the weather conditions as well, being out on the big stage, having people watching you. Obviously, not many times you get to play Ultimate in front of a crowd, which is, always going to have its added pressure. But I'd say now it looks like they're starting to find their feet. They're staying upbeat, and they need to do that if they're going to stay in this game.
So the team that you're coaching, the GB Open team, were playing on this pitch yesterday in a similar sort of wind conditions. How did they reflect on the effects of the trees on the windward side and also the stand where we are? What sort of effect did that have on the conditions on the pitch? Because it seemed like there was an awful lot of unforced errors in that game.
We would say it was nothing to do with the wind. Like it wasn't that windy on the pitch. I mean, it was a bit blustery. The fact that there was drops on both sides, I'd say it was just down to nerves.
Okay, wind's not a factor in this one. And the upwind, downwind still not a factor?
No, it's. I mean, a little bit, but not enough that any good team's going to struggle.
Okay. Big pull from 39. Yamauchi, 21 shirt of Chang, 35 is Johnston. Stern, 22, Verju, finally 21, an outstretched Chang. Nice cuts for the USA, lots of support. They're making themselves available and free at every opportunity. Swings to the middle of the pitch again. The far side is wide open. Managed to get clear of a defender. But no option this time. There's no one still no one open. Still no one open. Now she's having to go for that dump, but there's pressure on that from the Japanese. Wrong side of the person. And it goes up and it's going to go deep. Is it going to go too deep? It's going to go near the back of the end zone. She manages, just feet were on the edge of the zone, but she knew as she laid out that she was going to be up in the air when she caught that disc, if she caught it. Eventually it went down. So someone to keep an eye out for is the tall figure of Jackie Verju. Her dad popped in to make sure we pronounced her name correctly. But we heard a few good things about her. Unmistakable figure on the pitch. 6 foot and a bit. And quite a commanding player for the USA as Japan starts again from back. With 43. Japan looking for options, under a lot of pressure here again. Looking for short passes, going to bid on this one, a chance to go to the ground, and she does. Collects it, 2 hands, and 2 Japanese players queuing up to make sure that one stayed alive. 13. Awoko throws straight into the arms of Verju. She Ds it to the ground. Again, we see the Japanese not able to flow like we have seen them in the past. Chang with the disc now. Pressure from the Japanese, but not quite enough to stop the disc getting all the way to Cooper. All the way across the pitch, really stretching the play now. Into space, Verju flicks it into the end zone. It's going to be a bit. Oh, what a fantastic grab! Arms outstretched, one-handed, chest bumps with Verju. And that really took some catching, that disc from Verju. It floated into space, but she was absolutely committed, one-handed on the disc. Great grab.
Oh, what a great play. And I think that's what you'll always see from the Americans, is just this aggression. They want the disc, they feel it should be theirs, and they'll put their bodies on the line to go after it, which is great to see, especially, I'm not going to say especially for women's ultimate, I just think for ultimate in general is kind of showing the world that at this level, that's what it takes, is whatever you need to do to get your hands on that disc.
So the Japanese still sort of finding their feet in this game a little bit. The USA certainly the more confident of the two teams so far. And the score is 3-1 to the USA. Wherever you're tuning in, I hope you're enjoying the coverage that we're bringing you.
It'll be interesting to see now if USA decide to come zone. So far that's been working quite well against the Japanese, or if they're just going to play hard man defense and decide to kind of really apply the pressure and take the game away.
So the big Stevie Miller with the pull. And that has caught in the wind. It's not even made it as far as the brick mark, so a very short pull from the USA. But the zone is applied exactly as Jules predicted. Hammer. Bid, but it wasn't enough. The hands went underneath the disc. The disc bobbled off the top. And that pressure has resulted in a turnover straight away for the USA. Lizzie Lohar. Nora Landry. Up the line. Lim. Nice pivot, nice round shot. 15 meters out. Nice reset. USA working this disc nice, but not a good disc into the end zone. Misread by the defender and caught anyway by Megan Cousins in the 16 shirt. And USA extending their lead 4-1. And exactly as you predicted, Jules, the zone again, making real problems for the Japanese.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously I have no idea what conditions they normally play with out in Japan or the types of zones they come up against. The zones you're seeing here are very typical, sort of where you're applying wind and gustiness is like kind of your eighth man on the day. So rather than looking to actively get blocks, you're just kind of forcing the other team to make errors. So it's more about just taking away certain spaces and making them throw into other less convenient spaces, which, as you know, wind, rain makes the disc slippy. It's the right choices, and here it's a case of Japan need to either start to put in some bigger throws to make USA back off, or they need to get that disc moving so much quicker and attacking through the zone rather than trying to go around it, and these what are clearly some big athletes on the other team.
Very athletic, fast-moving zone from the USA. And a shot over the top. That is the shot the USA are wanting to force Japan to make, is to take that hammer, because they know that's a hard grab in this wind.
It is difficult, but I mean, if I was Japan, I'd be putting it right down into the other end zone. So if USA have to play, they've got to work it up themselves.
Go big. We'll find Shima with the disc. Takura. And to the far side for Ito. Ito in the 2 shirt. Shimada. And they've gone to a man now, USA. Shimada again. The baseball cap. 24. Date. And Japan take a shot to the end zone. It's going to be a bit hard. It's going to go down. Unfortunately, the disc just touched off her hand and went to the ground. But stretching the play for the first time, the Japanese there. and the USA's man defense a little bit exposed. If that shot had been a little bit closer to the person, it might have found some safe pair of hands, and that would have been a score. But the USA, rapid feet, immediately straight out of the blocks. They're starting fast, and they've got so much space. That undercut there from Schroeder, finding herself in acres of space, but a block from Japan. They get the turn. USA leading this one on. It seemed a completely different pace of game. As soon as the USA have got the disc, they're fast cutting, they're fast starting. Japanese much more relaxed, but a disc goes up into the end zone. It's going to float, it's going to be perfect for her. She runs it down, she's going to end at the back of the end zone. And she brings it down. It's a great score for Japan. Chased down by number 18, which is Shimoto.
So that's basically what Japan have to do, is they need to stop the USA being able to sit under on them and get near the disc and clog all that space, is to say, okay, if you're going to sit under on us, then we're going to take the game deep, which will force USA to then start to sit on those back shoulders and then allow the space around the disc for the Japanese to get it moving. So I think it's a fantastic option, and they need to keep doing that. Some of their players are so quick at the moment, and their disc skills are very pinpoint with accuracy, and as they get more confidence, I think you'll just see that go up and up and up. I was interested there with USA. The zone that they played there was the type of zone that Japan are more used to playing against, and that's why they walk through it so quickly. It's kind of that man poachy defense rather than taking away the spaces type of defense. So I think USA are right to stay with a more junk-like zone with cups and things to make the Japanese throw around them, rather than trying to take them man-on-man where the Japanese can turn on a pin.
Always when we're mixing up the nations, they've not seen each other play before. A game like this, sort of first one out of the blocks, where you've not actually had chance to watch the other team play yet, might be a bit of a shock to the system, but no doubt both teams will be backing themselves to adapt their tactics appropriately. USA with Miller with the disc to Bruce. Oh, and a mistake straight away from Lim. Disc goes to ground. Quick start from Japanese. Into space. Nice disc. Number 8 is Hinata. But a bit outstretched, flying fingers of Stephanie Lim. Gets the disc back for the USA. And a flick. It's going up. It's underneath that is Verjus. Pass forward. Number 7. Verjus available again in the middle of the pitch. The marker's nowhere nearer. Down the line. 20. Cuts flowing, but the Japanese keeping on top of it. It's going to go straight down the line again. Great read from the Japanese. Both the defenders seeing that disc. And they wanted to start quick, but again, no deep options going early. Japanese very happy to take the underpasses. That under game has opened up a little bit. The Americans marking a little bit deeper, but still not particularly deep. And now there's a deep option going, but again, not with that pace. 21 with the disc. It's a 91. Ogawa. Swinging the disc across the pitch. Why didn't she take the second swing? What she has done now. Not got as many yards though. Another swing is available. She's got to break that force a bit more convincingly though. Straight through the middle. That's a more impressive disc. Now space around the back. Moving across, getting the reset. Now we're on the break side, moving the disc a bit quicker, and a call on the play, travel on the play. Doesn't seem to be an obvious force from the USA. Oh, they're just getting broken too easily.
I think there it's just the Japanese move it so quickly that even by the time the force is there, the disc is left, pretty much.
Oh, and a mistake there from the 72, Kato. Disc too close to the defender, and I'm not even sure the offensive player was ready for it. Anyway, USA have it again with Harley in the middle of the park. And a pressure from the Japanese pays off. They get the turn once more. This is a multi-turnover point. Jules is cheering for them to put it, but they haven't. They've kept it close. Kodama, 91. A mistake from Ogawa. And it's the USA's disc again. I think is that our 4th turnover this point? Both teams making errors and the pressure from the defense. You get the sense that this is quite a big point. 4-2 is the score. If the Japanese put it in, it will look like a close game again. If the USA put it in, it will not. Verju sends it. What's going to be underneath that? There's a Japanese player bidding well, but oh, the huge grab, high, mighty grab from Rafter. She brings it down, passes a safe pass to Ode. Verju into space, it's going to be brought down by the USA. Two-handed, safe grab. Fantastic stuff from Nicola Bruce. But what a grab in the middle of the park from Marissa Rafter. Took it up. There was so much pressure. And I even thought the Japanese player had position on that disc, but she got up, she took it a foot above her defender. Awesome play from the USA, and they do take that point. 5-2 is the score, and they're looking dominant in this one so far.
Yeah, I mean, they just shown that even though there's been multiple turnovers in that point, they're going to pick it up and still play their game. They're not going to get sucked into these tiny turns and grittiness where the Japanese are definitely very good on a tight turn. They're just saying, we're going to be big because we're going to do big cuts. We can gain more ground more easily with you. We've got the throws to back it, and yeah, right the way into the end zone, which is great to see.
The physicality was quite impressive there as well. I mean, Verju is you know, looks like a big player once she's standing on the ground, but Rafter there got so athletic and airborne, really high grab, took it at the absolute pinnacle that she could do. And if you've got the ups like that, it's quite difficult for the Japanese, physically a smaller team, to compete with that. If that's an area that the USA are going to use their aerial game a bit more, that might be quite an imposing factor in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Japanese there, you saw, like, they can read the discs probably better than any other nation, but the issue is they are just a little bit shorter, and if a team's got big ups as well, there's not a lot you can do.
5-2 the score. USA leading this one out so far. Massive pull right to the back of the end zone, creating problems for the Japanese straight away, and that zone comes down and clogs and tries to choke the Japanese offense before it's got going. 4 people inside the end zone, float over the top. Now they've got it moving quickly. The Japanese out of their end zone now, trying to look for that shot up pitch, but the deeps for the USA have got it covered. Now they're coming back across. The float over the top, that's going to be in the air a little bit too long, but still brings it down, looking for that deep option again, really trying to stretch this play, Japan. Blasted it through the middle. That's a great disc, finding the gaps. There's players going, but they're going to take their time and swing it back across now. Cook having to work hard for the USA here as they've gone to man, yeah. Oh, that's a disc that I don't think it came out of her hand as smooth as she would have liked. And just the positioning and the strength of Chloe Rouse covering that deep. That's why she's the deep. And bringing that disc down. It's a lovely transition for the USA there, straight from the zone to the man, forcing the offensive line to adapt. And the USA have the disc again. 52, Erin Schroeder. Resets nicely. Lizzie Loha. So the Japanese straight away going to a straight up force, trying to stop those big puts deep. And they've got lots of space downfield. Only seems to be 2 players downfield with any sort of position, but the Japanese lays out number 24, Mana Date. Goes horizontal, gets the block, halfway up the pitch. Japanese still very much in this point, but that's floated up a little bit late. She's going to chase it back, goes underneath and catches it second time round. Horizontal, Date again. And a nice reset from the number 1. Now flow around the outside. The face mask not able to get to that one in quick enough. It's the number 1, Lyra Olsen in the face mask, but Japan get back into this one again. 3-5 to score. That nicely worked play. Really started to see the Japanese offense flowing, having a bit of confidence about the way they were playing. Still very much in this one.
Yeah, and I mean, there, although that pass went slightly wayward, that's what Japan need to keep doing. To keep USA honest, they've got to keep putting the discs deep of their people so their girls can run onto it. And as you can see, the Japanese are not afraid either to put their bodies on the line for this disc. So for them, taking on those deeper options is going to make USA back off more. And then there, the minute USA back off, you can see how quick they turn the Japanese team and just got that disc in straight away, because the USA are just, you know, just kind of trailing them on those really, really tight, quick turns. Nice to see. Japan need to keep doing it. And again, I'd say their USA showed their strength. Again, they brought down that junk type zone rather than a poachy man. And they need to keep bringing that to try and slow the Japanese down.
So big pressure. The timeout's been called. I'm not sure which team called it. It's hard to tell from up here. Do you want to just grab that? So while we've got the timeout called, we'll just have a quick check of Twitter to see what's going on out there. We're following the hashtag WU23UC. Press the right buttons.
So what's been great to see throughout this whole game is just the aggression and the athleticism on both sides, as well as a lot of the disc skills. The wind has picked up a little bit here, and it's quite gusty, and then the rain's making that disc quite difficult to catch. So you can see a lot of the girls going for the disc now definitely with two hands and trying to get their bodies behind it to make sure it's going to be a secure catch. It's Tom Stiles and Jules Murray here doing the commentary for Skyed, up at the top of the stands, loving this brilliant game of ultimate between the Japanese under-23 women and the USA under-23 women. We've just come out of a timeout. USA are leading 5-3.
So if you do want to say hello to us on Twitter, hashtag WU23UC. It's the World Under-23 Ultimate Championships. WU23UC, and the USA start this one. They lead 5-3 in this game. And Verju, middle of the pitch again, the number 22 shirt. Solid pass to the side, the far side of the pitch, closest to our cameras. Rapid cut from the number 2 shirt. Short, but oh so quick on her feet. The USA making lots of space, giving themselves lots of ground between the handlers, and the disc is going up. It's going to be floating in the back of the end zone, but perfectly put, perfectly run onto. Great example of flowing offense from the USA. And it was 36, was it, for the USA, Caroline Normile, who collected that one in the back of the end zone. So, sorry, 6-3 is the score now to the USA.
Yeah, I mean, there you can see, so Japan are playing quite a flat mark to stop the big hucks coming up. But then once you get closer to the end zone, it's more about the breaks, and they just need to be tight on their men. But again, maybe kind of biting a little bit too much on the unders, and then again, USA are just going to put that disc up and they're going to back their receivers into the end zone.
Yeah, I think if it comes down to a hooking game, I think everybody in the stands would back the receivers of the USA in this one, because they're so much physically bigger in lots of cases. But the flow there was particularly impressive from the USA. .6-3 is the score.
The USA are very disciplined around the disc as well. Their handlers tend to not clog the space, so they leave all the options available to the thrower. And then when they want their handlers to come in and start to reset the disc, then they become active. I mean, that's very, very good discipline, and you need it.
You see clear signals from the game advisors that the pull was clean, no offside. And the Japanese from their own end zone line advance the disc. A swing all the way across and all the way back over the head, but that's just an unfortunate mistake there. The wind catching it over her head. And the USA have got a turn again. The Japanese can't really afford too many mistakes like that, because every time the USA get the disc, they're looking strong, they're looking confident. Stephanie Lim comes to pick the disc up and taps it in. Across, nice flow to Schroeder. And a mistake from Schroeder sends the disc to ground. The Japanese pick it up quickly. Option is deep, but not taken. Option down the line. And a touch, a fantastic layout touch from the outstretched Lisa Cooper. Dusts her hands off, exchange a high five with Stevie Miller on this far side of the pitch, or a low five. And USA well-earned turnover there, and they got the disc again. It's reset into the middle. Caitlin Harley. Harley moving it down nicely to Schroeder. And a touch from Hamashima. Gets the disc going, and now she's got it up into the air, but there's going to be USA pressure under this one. Can they read it perfectly? It's just too many hands up in the air early. Even the outstretched arms of Hamashima couldn't get to that one. And has there been a call? No. They're quite happy with that. Just too much USA pressure. And it's difficult to see how the Japanese can use that deep shot option with so much verticality in the end zone from the USA. And USA got it once more. Pressure from Hamashima again. Real active defense from her. Bit of a nudge in the back, but that was accidental. 24 shirt of Kayla. Advancing nicely to Harley. Harley looking for Kayla again. Finds her. Kayla through the middle to 11. Cooper. Backhand, sidearm floating. It's going to be a little bit deep, but it's still in the pitch as number 13, Stephanie Lim, brings it down. They're extending their lead. They're looking stronger and stronger. The USA have got this one at the moment. 7-3 they lead Japan.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those moments in the game where, as you can see, the Japanese are trying to pick themselves back up, keep their heads in the game. Maybe they just need to have some set focuses to help get them sort of to find their way into the end zone and get those scores. I mean, they're already showing that they're looking to be aggressive, and then it's just not rushing it and taking it when the moment's right. But I mean, once USA build the momentum, they're an incredibly hard team to stop and kind of force them to make those mistakes, and they'll just grow and grow in confidence. But I mean, that's what they train for. That's what it means to be on this team, to be playing from the US. I spoke to some of the girls earlier today, just asking, you know, whether they were looking up to the game, and they just said they couldn't wait. They've been dying to play the Japanese. They know it's going to be a gritty match. They know they've got to bring their A game, because any mistakes you saw there, the Japanese will then take it away from them. So the Japanese are definitely forcing them to bring that level of ultimate to take this game away from them. So the Japanese should take confidence in that. It's definitely not a walkover. And again, maybe the scoreline doesn't really reflect the amount of grittiness that's out there and what's being demanded of all of the players. But yeah, I mean, it's just fantastic to watch, and I think the Japanese still have a lot more in them. I wouldn't write them off just yet, and it's just allowing them to kind of find what their rhythm is against a team like this.
Listening to Sky Magazine's coverage of the World Under-23s Ultimate Championships with Tom Stiles and Jules Murray up here on the top of the blustery stand. It's drizzling again, it's damp, and the stand has got quite a limited number of people considering the spectacle we're seeing on the pitch out here. A lot of people, I think if the weather had been nicer, would have finished their last game of the day and come down here to watch Japan versus the USA in the women's division. One of the top games to watch from when you saw the original schedule come out. That was a highlight for everybody. Glad to see it's given us an opportunity to cover it by putting it on the show game pitch. We've got our 4 game advisors in the yellow shirts around the outside of the pitch. These are not observers. They are not involved in making active calls, but they can advise. They're in charge of the whistles, keep the game moving. And they also do offside signalling, so as you see this pull go up, you'll see the game advisor on the far side of the pitch They'll either keep their hands in a V shape or their arms in a V shape to signal that everything was okay, or they'll cross their hands above their head to signal that the pull was offside. Let's see what happens here. Perfectly legitimate pull, so that ball is well. And the receiving team can also be offside as well, but not this time. And the Japanese, a little bit too close. The fast closing Caroline Normile that was almost on that disc. Nice work, great cut. Japan moving the disc nicely down his far side. Bid, huge bid, but just got her body in the way. Nicely worked from Shimada. This is lovely stuff from the Japanese now. We're on the outside, but the flow has stopped. And they have to get it moving again. Japanese looking to dash something through. The disc is nearly in the end zone. The Japanese floating it up, beautiful. They must have made 12 passes there, but every single one of them was hotly contested by USA. It didn't put them off. They kept the disc moving, and that's the sort of play we're expecting to see from the Japanese. Fast, accurate, clinical, 100% passes all the way.
Yeah, and I mean, what you see there is they didn't rush anything. What they like is, rather than as a cutter going out nice and wide to the edge of the field, is they tend to keep the disc quite close to the center and really thread it like straight in front of them, which is such an unusual throw. Most of the time in Frisbee, you're passing to an angled cut, which is either kind of going out for the around or right into the open side. So either way, it's angled, whereas the Japanese tend to do this kind of step out, and then they just throw it. The person throwing literally throws in a straight line. I mean, that disc very, like, deviated maybe a little bit, but pretty much made its way entirely down the middle of the field, which is so hard to defend against, because you could technically say downfield you're actually taking out the open side, and whether that's an inside or it's not really an around, and there maybe USA need to look at doing something like a bit more of a flat mark to force the Japanese to take their game out wide, which they obviously don't want to do.
Interesting perspective there, seeing the Japanese play. I suppose every pass, if you make it straight up the pitch, a 5-yard pass is a 5-yard gain, isn't it? Out to the wide, you might have to make a 15-yard pass for a 5-yard gain. Bit of applied engineering from our Japanese ladies. And 21 is Lauren Chan with the disc for the USA. She gets it back again. Far side, near side to you, far side to us. Chan once more, wants to find it to Cousins. Schneider. Nice disc from Cooper. A little bit low, but collected nicely by Johnston. A high one, but caught. USA controlling this. Not in too much of a hurry. The pressure is there from the Japanese. Forcing a really low disc grab from Verjus. The lefty over the top of the shoulder. That is a beautiful bit of play to Lisa Cooper. Verjus double-handed, low grab, calm as you like, stands up, lefty over the shoulder. And that's a great score. Jackie Verjus, one to watch for the future in the number 22 shirt.
Yeah, I mean, she's clearly sort of showing what she's made of as a player, and her choices have been fantastic as well. So not just as a receiver, but I mean, we sometimes get caught up with big people sort of being great receivers, and then you're not really looking at their disc skills. But right there, she's choosing the right options, the timing's right, the accuracy's right, which just makes her a really lethal player, is because what do you do on a player like that? Mark her deep, force her under, okay, well, she's got the throws, or you take out the under, okay, she's going to score on you deep. So yeah, so I think the Japanese are doing well to even kind of give her a bit of pressure, but I'd say a player like that, it's incredibly hard to decide how you're just going to limit the amount of damage that they do on a field.
I've seen commentated on a number of games with Bo Kittredge involved. He's exactly that sort of player, isn't it? Everyone just marks under, so marks him deep, so he has to go under, but then he's always free under, and that's the first place the handlers are going to look. We're not able to see the score from here. Let's see if we can catch a look at it. As the USA pull the disc to Japan in the middle of the pitch. Again, we've seen this very central disc. They don't really want to move it out. And the USA have come with a 4-man zone. It's immediately split right open, but there's no deep option to follow up. And the disc is reset. They lose some of the yards they've gained, but the Cup has had to do an awful lot of running to get that back, and pressure. Snap decision from the Japanese #1 player. Shima is the mistake. It's 8-4 to the USA. They've got the disc back. Harley to Lim, out to the sideline, and just keeps it in. Lim again. Looks at the backhand, doesn't take it. Puts it back in the holster, swings it across to Harley. Once more, Harley and Lim moving the disc nicely between them. Lots of space in front of them for players to cut into. And one of those cuts does arrive. Really strong force from the Japanese, but not strong enough to stop these discs still being broken. Now, low hands, not low enough. Oh, fantastic athleticism from the USA. A double bid. The first one missed. Stephanie Lim bid, didn't come down with the disc, but the outstretched Shira Stern, flying high, one-handed grab. And I think if she'd missed it, there was another USA player on the back of that one as well. Impressive stuff. The handlers there had so much space in front of them. One cut at a time for the USA. Real tight discipline, resulting in a score the Japanese seem to be able to do nothing about.
Yeah, I mean, when a team's disciplined, offense should always have that kind of the edge on the other team, and the Japanese have to play tight man there. Maybe giving the handlers a little bit too much space for easy resets, which the USA are happy to do. If it takes them 50 passes to then try and score, they're going to do that. So I'd say there, maybe Japan could start to really pressure those dump and swings to force the Americans to kind of rush something into the end zone. And then, like I said, because the Japanese are so good at reading that disc, is maybe they can get in there a bit quicker. But like we said, the athleticism, I mean, 3 girls happily ready to put their body on the line to make sure they come down with that disc.
It's half-time here. 9-4 is the score. Both teams taking a well-earned break. And our commentary team going to have a quick chat about everything else which is going on at the tournament. So it's been an exciting start, big opening ceremony yesterday, which I'm sure your team fully enjoyed, Jules.
Oh yeah, we absolutely loved it, and the home crowd were fantastic the whole way through the game. It was just great to give the boys a chance to play in front of their friends and family. I mean, obviously they've known about the training, they've known what the lads have been through, and now to finally get a chance to show them what we're about and show GB, you know, what we're here to do at this tournament was great to see. So yeah, so we just love to thank everyone who was there, and obviously yourself, Tom, on the commentary and helping us out. You know, kind of giving us a bit of publicity so people know who they're cheering for. And then also having the other GB teams there, our GB women and our GB mixed teams, means a lot to us. We're quite a tight group, and we're always checking in, finding out how each other are doing, and then going and supporting each other when we can, because we feel it's important. Like, we're not just here as Open, we're here as Team GB, and it is a privilege to represent our country, and every team feels that. So yeah, no, it was just a fantastic atmosphere.
It was a really special day yesterday. The weather wasn't the kindest it could have been, but a lot of hard work has gone into making this tournament possible. And if you're not already aware, this is the same venue and the same tournament organising committee that will be running WU23, World Ultimate and Guts Championships in 2016. So everything that you see here will probably be made a little bit bigger, a little bit more polished for next year. If you haven't checked it out already, there's a venue tour on YouTube, which I did this morning. I walked around the whole venue and showed all the pitches and all the different facilities that we've got on offer here. So yeah, if you go onto YouTube or on my Twitter or Blockstack TV's Twitter, there's a link to that. I'm sure a few other people have retweeted it as well. If you do fancy a look at what else is available here at the venue. And Simon and Luke, the tournament director and the event director, have been doing a fantastic job bringing everybody together. Also, I'd like to thank the tournament sponsors, VC and Disccraft. And this coverage being brought to you by Skyd magazine. So
I'd just say, Tom, like now going into the second half, the Japanese definitely need to change something up just to kind of stop the flow of USA. Like I said before, as USA keep building momentum and confidence in their systems and what they're doing, then they're just only going to get stronger. So, I mean, what I'd love to see here is either Japan coming out with some type of zone, even if it's just for sort of 5 passes or so, just to kind of you know, make the USA hesitate a little bit. So then that's kind of when mistakes kind of creep in, and it'll allow them to apply a bit more pressure. Because I think right now the USA are really comfortable with the way the Japanese are playing defense against them, and they're kind of saying, okay, if you're going to force us out wide, we'll take that, and then we'll stick it long, and we're happy to keep possession of the disc. You're not marking our handlers very tight. So yeah, so I'd say here, like, Japan need to regroup, have a game plan ready for what type of defense they'll be playing, and then offensively just keep opening up their game, keep backing their receivers, and maybe being a bit more expansive with their play. Like you said early on in the game, they tend to kind of only remain kind of in one area of the field rather than stretching it out. So yeah, so otherwise USA are just going to run away with this game, build in confidence, and then really kind of start to score in less and less passes as the Japanese fall behind.
So do something, and you're going to be losing quite badly.
Do something, be aggressive about it. Why not? I mean, if you're already going to lose the game, then you might as well practice some of the things that you're going to need in the rest of the tournament. And if you can do it against Team USA, then you're definitely doing it well. So that would be my advice to the Japanese. For the USA, it's a case of just keeping their systems really clean. That discipline that we saw in the end zone is demanding that from themselves. I mean, if they are finding this game easy, it's a case of not just kind of playing bad frisbee and still winning anyway. It's keeping that discipline that they've shown there, and kind of tying this game out and not even letting the Japanese back in again.
That's something we've seen this early on in a big international tournament. You always see a few very one-sided games, and it can often be a sign of the sort of discipline and strength it takes. If you're halfway through, it's sort of 9-1 or 9-2. If the team can go on to finish off that game 17-1 or 17-2, it shows a real sort of killer instinct and that discipline, never to take the foot off the gas, never to give in, never to show the team any mercy.
Yeah, and we've all been there. We've been on one side and the other, and you know, it's a case of that shows a kind of this mental toughness that they talk about that teams need to have, which is not to just kind of take your foot off the gas and let the other team build their own momentum. It's putting your stamp down on the game and then keeping it there and working really hard. So coming out into this half, what would be great to see is each team kind of stepping it up a gear, but in a kind of different way, and showing us something else to put the other team on the back foot again. So I'd say Japan on their offense, they're great when they keep that disc moving, but the minute they start looking off throws and sort of hesitating, that's when USA come in. And then for the USA, it's a case of kind of really pushing themselves to be super disciplined with every shot and not really accepting any turnovers, which I'm sure the girls know about and they believe in, and they'll back themselves and their disc skills to clean it up.
And we have seen a couple of times with the Japanese swinging the disc across the pitch, and they've got to the middle of the pitch and not taken that final swing pass, and then sort of had to reset and rethink it a bit. Now, wherever you're watching, we hope you're enjoying the coverage Sky Magazine is bringing you. Do send us a tweet. We'll try and see if we can get to some of our coverage. Thank you, Jules. And text message. A little closer to Mike during the play-by-play. Okay, got it, Steve. Thank you. A bit of online technical feedback from Steve Giguere. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. He's watching. Wherever you're watching, I do appreciate you getting in touch. USA Ultimate is watching, and obviously spreading the word. UW Element is watching. They are crushing. I would expect UK Worlds to be watching. Yeah, we're going to refer to person defense from now on rather than man defense, covering mixed and women rather than man defense. That's a very good idea then. We ought to do that. And that idea came from Eric Manise. Looking forward to watching a lot more coverage, we hope. J. Ting Walker is tuned in. Jackie Verju is pretty damn good, he says, and he is correct. Some people, if you watch the hashtag WU23UC hashtag, there's people chiming in from all over the tournament with reports from their games, and it's been really quite exciting. But the Disky Chicks are watching. Brilliant game between the USA Ultimate and Japan. Catch the second half streaming here, and there's a link to my stream. And so wherever you're watching, I appreciate getting in touch. Myself and Jules Murray, I'm Tom Stiles. And Jules Murray watching with us. Jules is a GB Open coach, star of GB Women from multiple years, and now residing in the Masters division. Are you off to Copenhagen this year?
Yes, I am. I've got about a week off, and then I'm off to Copenhagen to compete with the GB Master Women, so it will be fun.
And that's your UK swan song, I understand. You're off back to homeland.
I am. I'll be moving back to Canada in August, and then probably looking for some teams to play a bit of Ultimate with, and seeing if my body's got another season in it.
So if you do want Jules to come and play to your team in Canada, Toronto, the Toronto area, if you're looking for you want to make an offer to Jules to come and play with your team, are you on Twitter, Jules?
I am. I'm at Jules_coach, and it's Jules spelled JOOLS.
So yeah, JOOLS_coach. If you want to tweet Jules an offer to come and play for your team in Toronto, she's moving back over there in August. I'm sure you'll be made to feel very welcome. Tends to be the way with Ultimate players worldwide, isn't it? You travel the world. I'm a Frisbee player, rock a bit of practice, and you're very welcome. So we're back with this one. It's a big lead for the USA at the moment. They have got a 9-4 advantage. So Man has decided to stand right in front of our scoreboard, but the Japanese are hyping themselves up for this second half. Not the close game we were first expecting. The Americans have dominated. They've taken every opportunity to score, and the Japanese have yet to really find their flow. They have generated quite a few turns themselves, but the American defense has been too strong. Straight away, 4 passes right across the pitch. And a nice reset forward again, making progress up the pitch. This is a nice one into space. He's going to have to bid. Just seemed to get away from her, didn't hang up in the air like some of the discs in that direction have done earlier in this game. USA straight away, starting fast. Schofner sends it. It's going to float. It's going to carry. Is it going to be big enough? The defense is perfectly well read. Takura gets underneath that. Reads it beautifully. And Anri Shima comes to pick up for Japan now. Marked closely by Bruce. Shima down the line to Takura. Shima again, and sends it. Chasing underneath. There's going to be pressure from the USA, but she's read it. Oh, she had read it. There's a hand over the top. It was all fair. And Caroline Normal getting the D. And she's going to pick it up for the USA. 2 USA players behind her for the dump. And the first one to get the disc is Michaela Meister. And she finds Schofner. The pressure from the Japanese, getting ahead of her person, Hama Shama. And she's back on the disc again, having got that block, with an opportunity to score for Japan. And resets, swings it across, but doesn't take that disc. And finds a nice disc, and Japan moving it beautifully. Not taking the obvious pass the first time, but taking it the second time. Swinging nicely, the sort of thing we expect from Japan. It's just short of their own end zone line. Making more passes than I think another team would, but they've still got the disc and they're still creating pressure. A lot of players in a very short space, in a very little space. But oh, the disc was good. The cut, the disc was, well, it was an open space, but the cut had gone a little bit early. And the disc a little bit too far behind the cutter. It was Ito with that pass. And Hamashima having to go backwards, but 20 passes there within 10 yards of their own end zone line. Not as productive as they would have liked for the Japanese. But again, pressure on that defense, really forcing the Americans to chase down every disc. The disc is going to go up, it's going to be misread, and it's going to be caught by the Japanese. They've got another turnover, another opportunity to score. Steady hands. Calming it down again. Now they're moving once more. Excellent flow, great little cutting from Takura. Still shy of the end zone. Shimada. And a second opportunity missed from the Japanese as the disc goes to the ground again. And it's difficult to see the Japanese scoring if that's the approach they're going to take, because they're making so many passes. Now, can we see a bit more fluidity? Big throw coming up. Disc goes up, it's being chased down hard, it's going to get away from her though, she's big, but it was just too much. The wind caught it, it floated away from her, the outstretched Stevie Miller, unable to bring that one in. And a big put was from Michaela Meister.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what USA needed to do is, I mean, unfortunately that disc kind of just blew up at the last second. I would have backed her to go and get it, and she should back her receivers. Japan need to neaten up their end zone. They're all crowding into one space. That's just the final bit. Their flow and offense looks so good.
Lots of people are at the front of the end zone and no one at the back. Need to stretch it out a little bit. They've got loads of discipline in the middle of the pitch. Some cuts flowing. They're getting away from their defenders. There's an opportunity there. It's a deep shot available, but she's not taking it. And still, we find Takura is really having a solid game for Japan here in the number 11 shirt. Out on the far side, into space, and this time it's going to be collected. Fantastic one-handed grab from Shimada. She brings it down for the point. 9-5.
So I've got a comment on this player for Japan, the Anri Shima, who is number 1. She's almost like the player we call the assist of the assist, which is zero glory, but keeps the disc alive, and it's in and out of her hands within seconds, and she causes the flow and changes the momentum of the disc. I mean, just watching her there in the last point, she doesn't clog, she doesn't get in the way, but the minute they just need someone just there, she's there, and then it's in and out of her hands straight away. And that is what's so beautiful about the Japanese offense, is once it is moving, it is like almost nothing you can do about it, because the disc is 1 minute going one way and then the next minute is going in a completely different direction, and all the defense are caught off guard basically. So I mean, that we need to see more of that. They need to gain confidence by that way of playing.
I think this was something that I took away from the Uno versus Fury game from 2010, which I think we commented on earlier as there being an epic matchup between a Japanese and American team from the past. And the key thing for me there was that Uno could change direction way quicker than the USA team could. Physically, in a straight line over 100 yards, the USA would probably win most races. But for the first 10 yards, the Japanese had the advantage, and they used that advantage so successfully in that game. And we saw in that last point, when they can use it against this team, it's going to work as well. 52, Schroeder. But we've got Verjou going deep, and she's going to get hit, and she's going to be free, and she's going to have to go to the ground to get it. But no, the disc is bad. The disc was way too low. But Verjou given so much space there by Japan, just let her wander off. The 72 player, Saki Kato, I think she needs to wise up a little bit. And the Japanese going vertical. We've seen a lot of horizontal in this game so far, but gone vertical this time. And cuts thin on the ground, but finding the ones that are needed. Looked to send it, but didn't send it. Put it back in the holster. And 81 is Kato. Lots of pressure from the USA. And a floaty disc that was just a little bit too poor. Got a little bit too much I.O. on that. The wind caught it, flew up over her head. And the USA have got a disc right where they need it, right on the end zone line that they're attacking. And they've spread themselves right to the back of the end zone. But they only need one pass. Fantastic pass. Megan Cousins, the receiver, and the assist from Erin Schroeder. And they re-establish their 5-point margin. 10-5 is the score. We're watching USA versus Japan. in this women's division. Pool match. The women's division is one big pool, which they've called Pool J, even though there is only one pool. I think that's just to differentiate the pools from all the different divisions. But Pool J is all the women's teams are all going to play each other, and then there's crossovers and matchups and all the final placing games towards the end of the week. But USA very, very strong, and Japan struggling to establish their rhythm against this big, fast-running, fast-cutting, physical side from North America.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually quite a good game of Ultimate. It's unfortunate that the Japanese look like they're only just starting to switch on. The score 10-5 at the moment. I reckon if I was USA now, I'd probably come down with a junk again to slow the Japanese down, not let them find their rhythm on that quick offense that they play. And then, yeah, Japan, again, just trying to stretch out their game, keep the disc moving, try and keep USA on the back foot and not let them just run away with this.
We've got some tracksuit bottoms out there as well, haven't we? That's unusual. Maybe her legs are cold. Not used to this British weather. And we've seen it the second, third, fourth time we've seen the Japan start with those 4 passes straight across the pitch. And it's made them a decent bit of yardage, but now they're starting to clog. They've not got enough space. They've not got the same amount of space as the USA have. And they're running out of passes, not taking a really open cut there. Looking that off, and the USA outstretched. The flying hand of Caroline Normile, just getting the touch needed. And he needs one player to make such a big bid. And there was a really obvious cut looked off from the Japanese there where she was way free, instead looking for that much more risky pass. And Caroline, just not quite as good. So that was Michaela Meissner. Big pressure from the Japanese, but it's gone up high, it's floating, it's going to be a bit underneath this. But it's read perfectly by the 42 shirt of Lizzie Lowra. Did you do a little bit of fishing as well there?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, or that, or the disc, just because it's so wet, it just looked like it kind of slipped off her finger. She definitely looked at the receiver, but the disc that came out, I don't think was the one that she had in her mind.
So the Japanese, with their relentless enthusiasm, still very, very positive.
Always. And I mean, even there you saw when one of the girls threw it and her teammate slowed down, and then that let USA come in and get the block. She's then apologizing to her and with a big smile on her face. I mean, they just always look like they're having a great time. Their sideline is one of the best in the world for sure. You know when you're playing Japan, which is fantastic to see. And I think these girls should be confident in the way that they're playing. I mean, obviously USA are, I think, just the better team, and they're showing that, and that's great to see because they're playing to their standard. But as well, Japan should be confident in the fact that the offensive mistakes are, a lot of them are just their own, and if they can neaten that up and keep working on stuff, that, you know, they could probably go quite far in this tournament as well.
To see how all these teams shape up. We saw a very exciting game, Colombia-Germany, earlier this morning, which was won by Colombia against a lot of expectations. The South American game getting stronger and stronger. And certainly the South American women's game has been a force to be reckoned with for a while, but the German scalp is a mighty one to be taken by the Colombians. And the Japanese are not out of this game yet. If they start getting their flow going, who knows what can happen. Nice little poke through. The perfect pass. The Japanese, number 7, from the middle of the pitch, out to number 24. And that's a nice disc, straight forward. Over the top, there's going to be pressure underneath this. It's the defense, outstretched, reaching hand from Erin Schroeder. Gets up high, knocks the disc away. And that sort of disc just is not going to work against this big American side. 12, Chloe Rouse. We've seen a couple of big discs go from her. But that's a beautiful arrow straight through the middle. Marissa Rafter, and that's going to float, and it's beautifully timed. Schroeder with the disc again. not far from the edge of the end zone line, still leaving plenty of space for the other players. One cut at a time going into the end zone. Has to go to ground. Schaffner, and the disc from Schaffner is poor. And it's Deed to the ground. Schaffner going to the ground one-handed to get that, but then the shot selection back across the pitch was not good. Japan with the disc once more. Beautiful disc to Hamashima. Hamashina's got no cuts coming at her. She's got no energy to look at down pitch. And now she has. And she has sent it, and she's in lots of space, positioning herself beautifully. This could be a fantastic grab for Japan. Perfectly timed. Shimi Oto making that deep cut, beautifully timed shot. A lot of pressure from the USA, even with the perfect disc. But she got up high, she positioned her body beautifully and took that disc down. 11-6 is the score, USA in the ascendancy. But Japan playing some nice ultimate.
Yeah, that's great to see. I mean, you know, when a team's down, sometimes you can just go in yourselves, stop backing your receivers, stop backing your throwers, and your whole game kind of goes out the back door. But there, Japan just, you know, made a decision. They're staying strong, they're backing each other, they're supporting each other, and that allows them to then keep playing that type of game, which is so important for them to do. Even if they don't win this game, if they keep bringing things like that to the table, then they're, you know, that's them still winning, and they'll have that then for the rest of the tournament in the other games that they come across. So I think what you'll see here is probably some pretty solid ultimate about to come out of the USA. These girls know how to perform under pressure, and I think they'll, if they need to take a lot of passes to score, they will. If the shot's on, they're also going to take it. So Japan just need to be ready. Don't let USA get an easy shot in and make them make those passes to score.
Whistles from the game advisors signal that we're all ready to go here. Everybody's on the side and the disc goes up. 11-6 is the score, but the USA got it now. Chang. Short pass back. Oh, and a mistake there on the receiving from Alexander Ode. Not hurrying the disc forward. Japan now with it. Nishikawa resets. Beautiful disc forward and a nice continuation cut was there, but she didn't use it. Position from the USA, but a grab. In or out is the question. Both feet landed. One was in, one was out. Which foot was down first? Are we going to go to a game advisor for decision, or are we going to take the American's viewpoint? Great grab from 17. Either way, Japan have got the disc on the edge of the end zone. They're going to are they going to clog? No, they're not going to clog. It's beautiful work from Ayu Tanaka invading the pitch. The Japanese, they're getting back into this one. 11-7. They've reduced the margin of lead down to 4. And I think since the USA took the half, I think we've traded the second half out so far, haven't we? The Japanese are in this.
Yeah, and clearly growing in confidence. That is great play to see there. Like we said, just backing their receivers, saying that's fine that these girls are taller or bigger. We're still gonna, back you. And like we said, the Japanese are so good at reading the disc. I mean, I would love to go out there and just learn the type of training they do to be able to do that kind of playing. I don't know if it's something that they're big on in their country because they know they are shorter, and on a world stage they have that. So they need to be so close to everything and just be better at it than anybody else to give them that little bit of hope of getting in there. And I mean, even in the women's game all the way through, they're just so good at it. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see now how USA are going to respond to this pressure, and what kind of play is going to come out of them.
Seen in previous years, the Japanese approach to the deep game is very different from sort of European and USA approach to the deep game. So an example might be from a disc at about the brick mark, a European deep shot might go into the end zone and float, wait for a big receiver to pull it down. Whereas a Japanese deep shot would arc its way into the end zone and come down on a pinpoint with a receiver directly underneath that point. Completely different approaches. Very, very hard to defend against the Japanese method. The USA with the disc out to Harley. Harley on the sideline looking for options. A few different options approaching, and this one is nice. It's Chang. Chang's got a shot into the end zone, but it's overcooked. Been down the gym a little bit too much. Did you give her a squat program? And that one's gone steaming out of the back of the, or away from the defender. Sorry, away from the receiver. It's lying in the middle of the end zone, waiting to be picked up. The 21 shirt of Furukawa for Japan brings the disc forward. And they've gone vertical again. Not very much space. They're having to reset into their own end zone. Two cuts clogging each other's space, and the D made to look so easy by the outstretched Jackie Verjou. Big player, absolutely committed to getting that block. Now she's going to the front of the end zone, but the disc is going around the back. Verjou's available again, trying to skip away into it backwards, but doesn't quite manage it. She's on the edge of the end zone line and manages to find a teammate. Smoothly does it. Verjou, the supplier of the block and the assist in that one. 12-7 the score. USA looking so smooth.
That's like, so just to say, Jackie Verjou, like, I don't know where she's learned to play ultimate, but that confidence, not even looking at the dump, just trusting her teammates, seeing she's three and throwing it straight away, even after that slightly awkward catch just outside the end zone, where maybe other players would think, okay, I'm just going to give it back to my handlers and then get back in the stack. That type of aggression and confidence, that block she just got, I mean, that is one hell of a player right there, and I'm sure she's got a big career ahead of her.
The other name I was very pleased to see on the rosters out here in the USA mixed division is Lisa Pitcaithley. Pitcaithley, do you know? You know Lisa. You've not heard of Lisa? I'm looking forward to commentating one of her games later. So I've been producing highlight reels since the beach in Italy, and she was on a number of highlights that came out of the Toronto Under-23 tournament as well. So,
I'm not very disc, Tom, so like geekiness and knowing of players, I tend to be not so great at it, but I'm sure a load of my lads would probably know the name.
I'm sure they would. You're watching Sky Magazine's coverage of the World Under-23 Ultimate Championships here from London. You're listening to Tom Stiles and Jules Murray on the commentary for Sky Magazine. The rain has gone away, but the breeze is still with us. It's a little bit on-off, a little bit stop-start. It's not affecting the two teams. And Japan facing a zone again from the USA. Nice pass around, but there's no deep option for the continuation. And again, not quite taking those first opportunities. What's happening here? So they've gone to a man now. They're defending the deep and sending it around. That's a nice disc into the Japanese. Looking at the deeps, but didn't take it. Nice flow. Oh, and a little bit of a slip there from Takura. Not able to take that shot, but beautifully timed. The knowledge those two players must have each other. That was Anri Shimmer again, the player you were admiring earlier. A nice cut from her. And Takura getting that grab, seeing the blindsided American with her back to her, and just knowing that that is exactly where Shimmer was going, put it in front of her, and that great sort of, those chemistries that you get between players is absolutely vital at this level.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's the type of thing where the player knows what their teammate's going to do before their teammate even does it. And it's incredibly hard to defend against. It's almost, we kind of have this thing where sometimes when you play against beginners, you kind of think, oh, they'll never throw that because no one throws that, and then they throw it and they somehow beat you to discs or, you know, break you in ways that you would never think possible. And I think that's that type of, you can have as many systems as you like, but if the other team wise up to it, you know, and are just as fit as you, then now you need something a bit extra, and those bonds that you get within the team is what helps your team play above the level of the sum of its parts, which is really, really important. And just there, you just saw how lethal it can be.
Yes, on the surface of it, a basic throw and a basic catch, but completely undefendable if you weren't familiar with those two players. 12-8 is the score. Oh, and a nervous looked to go and grab it, a little bit high, decides to let it go to ground, and that's given the Japanese opportunity to set up, but they get the disc moving. They're going flat 3 at the back. 3 handlers and a horizontal stack, making the spaces, keeping it nice and wide. The Japanese trying to keep up with their players, but WU finding space and sending it deep. There's lots of space up here, but the disc is caught in the wind. It's not gone that deep. It's not gone that far. Number 10, Stern, resets, back to the horizontal. And this is beautiful work from the USA. They score so nicely, so smoothly. Erin Schroeder with the eventual put into the end zone. A lot of the yards were made from that put from WU into space, but the USA using their speed, stretching the Japanese further than they like to run, and by opening up those cuts from a sort of a 5-10 yard cut to a 25-30 yard cut, they're able to make 5 or 6 yards just with their extra pace, and really making that count.
Yeah, and there, I mean, just the speed at which they cover the ground, kind of from one end all the way to the other, is impressive. These girls have clearly worked extremely hard to be able to even play the game that you need to be able to play at this level. And there you just saw it. They're happy to be expansive. They're happy to throw those shots despite the wind at the moment. And yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine how much hard work's gone into being able to play that type of level. So it's great to see, and it's so fantastic that we're actually getting to cover it live and show it to the world to say kind of this is what hard work looks like.
And of course, you don't have to necessarily watch this game live. You might well be watching it months or weeks or even hours after this game has been played, because it's all here for posterity, and the internet never forgets. So the words we are saying right now will be here forever. No doubt this tournament will go down as a classic. It's been hosted in beautiful facilities, very well organised and drilled volunteer team. And the tournament organisers have been working on this for a long time. And the Japanese, again, starting their point with 2 or 3 crossfield passes. We've seen that a number of times already. And Hamashima with the disc, looking for options, and finds Shima. Nice work again. And sends it deep. Gonna have to be stretched. Oh, didn't quite commit to the layout as she should have done. Maybe a 1 pace earlier, and a full commit would have got that one down. Shimada not quite able to reach. The disc was a big old stretch though. Good pressure from the Japanese defense, taking away the options. Pressure and a great layout block. Almost got the Callahan. She reached it, and I think she was looking for the block first and then the grab second. If she'd only gone for the grab first, that would have been a fantastic point for the Japanese. So now they've got to capitalise with the disc on the end of the end zone. A little bit deeper, a little bit more central. Can they put it in? Will the USA give them any breaks? Floated disc and a 2-handed grab. Know your receivers. And it is that pairing again, isn't it? So Shima with the disc and the layout.
Number 11, Asako Takora.
Yeah, Takura's been an impressive player in the 11 shirt all day. And Jessie Schaffner was the defender there, was blindsided a little bit by that disc. Just threw it over the shoulder, threw it into space with enough float and enough trust in her receiver to make sure that got there.
That's a really hard disc to throw. Something I'd love to notice here is the Japanese forcing is so good. Their arms are out. They're not just kind of going into your classic stance and then thinking that that's enough. They're really reading the kind of the release point of their player and putting their hands and their bodies in the way. But then they're also at the same time moving their feet. So when you watch them on the force, they don't bite. They're staying active. They never get caught flat-footed. And actually, the USA are struggling to gain any yards on their breaks. Whereas the Japanese, some of their breaks, they're either going to take the around, and then the minute the USA move, they then take that IO pass straight away. Which is good to see. So I'd say, like, if you're kind of want to watch this game in maybe a bit more critical eye, start to look at some of these forces that are going on and kind of see what you think.
We'll talk to Jules a little bit more about coaching and development of the game in a little bit, but the USA got the disc once more. They lead this game 13-9. And the pressure from the Japanese is telling. But they are still so dominant in the air, and there's another example of that. Shira Stern beating her defender with the slight undercut and then a deep shot from Michaela Meister. Deep shot going up, plenty of space. And Stern bringing it down. And Jules, you're a sports coach outside of Ultimate as well, professional sports coach. How would you say that the coaching side of the game has changed in your sort of 10 years in the sport?
So I'd say, first of all, the fact that we even have coaches. So when I was starting out, there was definitely none. It was the classic, the best player in the team was kind of coach, captain, player, admin, everything. And now we are getting people that are kind of investing in it. But, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, the States obviously have a fantastic setup of coaches that can support the play. And, you know, they've been going down to Colombia and everything else. But in the UK, we still sometimes might have incredible coaches out there, and I'd encourage anyone to get into it. It's going to improve your game regardless, but you know, don't judge the person coaching. Like, that person might not be a great player, but they might be a fantastic coach. So it's a case of not necessarily the best players don't always make the best coaches. So yeah, so I think we're getting there, and more people are giving the time to it, but I still think we need more here in the UK.
There's a lot of coaches arriving with their teams under 23s. It's a sort of level of the game where we'd expect to have most teams with a coach here. Japan, middle of their end zone, Shima. And we've seen Shima and Takura, such a great pairing all game on the far side of the pitch now. Kato. Takura, Shima again. She's got no options and managed, even with no options, she managed to find a great disc and the space here to go deep. She's going to pick it out, but can she collect it? Can collect it. What a fantastic grab. The 18 shirt of Shimoto. Now let's have some patience. Japan, what options do they have? 81 is Kato. One cut at a time from Japan now. Still short of the end zone, but nice pass in. Beautiful work from the Japanese. That's where they're so dangerous. That's where they're so good. Those first 5 paces, the Americans just cannot change directions as quickly as they can. One drop of the shoulder, one quick fake, and then they're off and they're away.
Yeah, and there you could hear the USA coach screaming, "No IO, no IO," because the Japanese are so lethal with that straightforward pass, which, like we said before, is some people might consider it to be open side, some people think it's a bit of a break. There, again, I would say USA, if they want to take out those options, then they've got to force Japan out wide and start flattening off those forces. So yeah, so clearly, like, to take this team down is going to take a lot from Japan, but I love that they're still fighting hard for it and they're still demanding more from each other and their plays, and the level of play there is brilliant to see. And again, like I said, their forcing is so good. That last point that Japan missed out on the D, there was a bit of a mix-up of who was marking who, and USA are going to be a team that recognize that, capitalize on it, and take the shot.
So the Japanese still trail the USA. 14-10 is the score. You're watching Sky's coverage of the World Under-23 Ultimate Championships from London with Tom Stiles and Jules Murray. The USA starting around the brick mark. Great defense. Oh, and a mistake, a slip on this greasy surface. And the disc rolls round, and Jules, the force.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, she just, you know, takes out the options, but then doesn't stay there. She's then bouncing back again to look out for the IO, look out for the around. I mean, I'm learning a lot just watching them at the moment, actually.
Furukawa with the disc for Japan. Nice shot over to Ito. Ito, straightforward pass. And she sends it deep, and there's so much space deep. Come on, bring this down. Fantastic stuff from Japan. Iri Hinata. And that's the first time we've seen Iri Hinata on the pitch. It's the first time we've mentioned her name anyway. But she got deep and she got a great shot away. And Japan are back in this. They still trail the USA by 3 points. And the USA are still looking like the favourites to win the game. But what we all really wanted to see today, especially in front of the cameras, was a really good game of ultimate. And that is what we're starting to see. The USA have called a timeout. And we're wondering what the talk in their timeout is going to be. But the momentum seems to have evened up. I'm not quite sure it's entirely Japan's way yet, but the momentum seems to have evened up in this game. 14-11 the score.
Yeah, we always talk about ebbs and flows in a game. Sometimes one team is up and things are working out for them, and then other times they're kind of down, and those 50-50 options start to become the negative side of the 50-50. So, you know, I mean, Japan, I feel here it's something that, I mean, we've worked on as GB, is to say, are you the type of team that can create your own momentum and cause the 50-50 to go more in your favor rather than less in your favor? And I mean, USA are such a positive team. They've got so much confidence. I'd say they're the type of team that their heads won't go down. They'll keep fighting for this, and they'll be able to build their own momentum. But then same with Japan, and I think that's something that makes these types of teams really world class, is that ability to kind of bring their game and their style and be very firm about it and not try and play the other team's game.
Timeout comes to a close. The tournament's been very well supported by a couple of key sponsors, including Sky doing the coverage, VC, and also Discraft providing all the equipment. VC in heavy attendance here. All the volunteer shirts. And the tournament very much like to sponsor them. And the Sky's coverage is also in partnership with ERIC, which is a charity to raise awareness about early recognition of cancer. Named after ERIC. Early recognition is critical, is what that charity is trying to promote. So, in all cases of cancer, trying to encourage people to talk about it and raise awareness of it.
What would be great to see here is just some big play from USA. Back the receivers, back their throwers, and get the control back of this game.
So Japan pulling, not a big pull, not made it as far as the brick mark, but they came out there very quickly and they've put the pressure on. A little bit more energy than they had at the start of this game, but it's not going to stop them. The USA advancing the disc nicely to Verju. Nice disc across the top to Johnston. Johnston looking back to Verju. Right pitch, Verju collects. And there's so much space deep. But the disc is gone between two American players. I think it was probably out of the reach of both of them. But the disc is going straight downwind down there, and Verju's disc looked like it was going to carry and then suddenly died.
Yeah, but what I love, there was no hesitation from her, and that's what makes the USA lethal, is that no hesitation, complete confidence in their prep and everything else. So I think it was the right shot and just unfortunate.
The ability of the team to forgive those unfortunate discs when they don't work out, because they know that they're essential when they do work out. The Japan sending the big disc up, and two defenders underneath that, not successful against the tall Americans. Those upwind long shots have to be perfect, but pressure from the Japanese. Verju brings it down. And the force is left and right, and again a diving layout from the Japanese to try and keep this American team under pressure. Verju, the disc is going high, and Japan collects that one. It was over Verju's head, but the pressure from the USA is relentless. Erin Schroeder getting the block and a call. And it's been uncontested by Schroeder. Took the hand as well as the disc. And Takura starts again. This time the disc is a mistake to Kato. A little bit too far ahead of her. And, USA with possession once more. They lead this game 14-11. on a mistake, but it's swept up nicely by Kim. And gets the disc back. 52, Schroeder. Verjus, lots of pressure from the Japanese defense, but it's still not enough. Verjus cutting deep. The options are available for the USA. 22. Verjus is free again. She's getting a little bit trampled on by the Japanese just to try and put her under a little bit of pressure. Physicality coming from both teams here. And a switch up from the Japanese defense. Verjus free once more. No space in the end zone. The second cut was free, but there's a foul called. Uncontested foul on the throw. And she's going to pop it into the end zone for a quick and easy score. A bid from a flying Kana Akawaza. But it's not enough to stop the USA. They move out to a 15-11 lead.
Yeah, I mean, great play by USA. Verjus just dominating the pitch, which is so good to see. Happy to kind of take the open pass, keep the disc moving, but also her work rate on her cuts is so high. But also seeing like the team make the space, and they're nice and big, and they're not cloggy. And it's not just her cutting; everyone else is cutting as well, and that's important because otherwise defenders can get off man Ds. So that's great to see. Something that's really impressive about the Japanese team is their game IQ and what we say, like, sort of awareness of where the disc is going, where the threats are, and everything else. That little switchy defense that they just had on those two USA players, I mean, that can only happen if everyone is fully aware of all the other players and what's going on the field, where the flow of the disc is going. I mean, there's so many factors involved in that, but the Japanese are always so good at it, and they very rarely play heads down defense. It's definitely a 7-man or person defense, I should say, rather than just being focused on your player. And I think it's something that sort of teams in general can always get better at, is if all of you know where every single player is all of the time, then that helps give you that bit of edge, despite being on the back foot when you're on defense against offense.
We need to come up with some gender-neutral terms for some of our defensive strategies, don't we? I think person on person is is too clunky. I'm going to go for one-on-one, for what we used to call man-on-man. And it's going to be bricked by the Japanese as the USA pull goes out of the pitch.
Maybe it's the term that's the problem. It should be just 7-7-7. It's the whole team needs to play defense against the whole team, and that it never really is one-on-one. I don't know.
Indeed, so a zone is set up by the USA. And the Japanese looking for holes in it, but there are very few. They're right to crash a little bit, looking for the dump, finding the swing. And don't get trapped on this line, otherwise they're going to be in real trouble as the USA advance again. This big hammer over the top, and it's caught. Japan flowing now, got out of that cup, and they're making some progress down the far side of the pitch, the near side of the pitch to you. Hamashima with the disc. The options have stopped all of a sudden. The USA have switched to man. The Japanese offense haven't changed quickly enough, but nice IO inside. Is that pairing between Shima and Takura. They obviously know each other very, very well. We've seen them make a lot of clear passes. So I think the start of this game, maybe the first 7 or 8 points, was very much the USA's game. They've had a big lead since that point. But the second half of this game, I'd say probably Japan have been the slightly better team. It's been very close, but the lead was all built up from the USA in that opening section of the game. And since then, it's been a very, very evenly matched game. And I think I've certainly enjoyed watching both of these teams scrap it out.
Yeah, and I mean, there, when we said early, like, the clash of the titans is the Japanese have their style of play and USA have their style, and again, it's whichever one has the kind of the more grit to dig their heels in and say, no, we are playing our way of playing, and we're not going to let you shut us down. We're just going to take whatever options are available to allow us to keep playing our style and not try and get into a battle with you. And I'd say early on, Japan tried to compete with USA with their style of play, and they're not going to win. And now the Japanese are saying, okay, we're going to play our way of playing, and you've got to come to us. So it's great to see.
Japanese style ultimate from the Japanese. That's what everybody wanted. And again, the pull, difficult to get too far up the pitch. It's landed in exactly the same spot as the previous ball from that end of the pitch. Lauren Chang. Oh no, great intercept from Japan. Making quick cut up the line. Hinata. Pass back. The USA making the passes very difficult here. It's a bit of a loose man in places, but Japanese looking deep, sending the deep option. It's going to be chased down. It's going to be bit hard. Oh, so close to the ground. Saki Keito not quite able to keep that one up. It was the right shot. She was free, and the disc wasn't too far away. Again, the wind, not quite the disc that she was looking for, coming down in an arc, coming down too fast. And the USA are going to send it early. Verju hasn't seen it. She's not looked round. Didn't adapt her run early enough. She had her back to the thrower when the disc went up. I think if she'd arced her cut a little earlier, had she known the disc was coming, she might have gotten the end of that. And the Japanese with another opportunity to show us their flow. Coming down the line, but that's blocked. Options taken away. Pressure from the USA, gets a block, but it's caught by Japan. Keito, there's no one up the line, no one up the line. Now it's gone up the line. It's going to be brought down beautifully, and it is. Fantastic stuff from Aya Tanaka. Hands in the air from the USA. They're obviously trying to build up some excitement of their own, but the Japanese have suddenly started to look like a force to be reckoned with. A couple of mistakes from the USA compounding the problem. There's 5 minutes on the clock left before the cap. 15-13 to the USA.
So now this becomes interesting because there is a little bit of the wind, and the USA are now on the kind of the downwind side, going into the wind to get this point, which if the Japanese play their cards right, they could suddenly find themselves in a 15-14 situation. And again, I mean, the USA still have that lead to play with, which they worked hard for and took away from the Japanese early on in the game, which is something like USA always start their games well, and that's just super disciplined of them. So right now, I'd say USA just need to focus on their basics, backing each other, working hard, keep that high work rate, not hesitating, and running through the Japanese defense to make sure that their defenders stay with them so those Japanese can't get those off-man Ds, which is what I was talking about earlier, that kind of game awareness, that they're not just going to follow you around the field. If you're not a threat, they'll step off until you become a threat, and then they'll tighten in on you. So USA have to keep running big patterns.
The real success we've seen from this American team is when they've made the field as expansive as possible. And fast cutting. Oh, and a terrible disc. A real strong start from Schaffner, but she makes a mistake with that lefty shot to make space, and the Japanese have been given another opportunity, gifted this one. Hinata. Down the line, a mistake from Hinata. The disc goes to ground. Defense from Alexandra Ode, but she had to do very little apart from put her hand in the way because the disc was so poor. And USA back near their own brick mark. Nice IO. Schaffner looking up the pitch and not seeing anybody, and she's going to break that force. What a disc from Schaffner into space. He's going to drift to the edge of the pitch. He keeps her toes in. What a disc from Schaffner. Breaks the force straight up the line. Loads of space to find Megan Cousins running into it. And great work from Cousins. The awareness of where the edge of the pitch was. Just keeps her toes in. catches that disc, scores a point, moves it out to 16-13. They were within a point of the win here. And that was some extremely good play from both teams. Schaffner making up from her earlier mistake with that great put to the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. That's that expansive play, finishing their cuts, dragging the players out so they've got the space to make those types of plays. And then just there, like, no hesitation on the throw. That number 2, is it Schaffner that her name is? She is just quick, everything quick. Like, quick cutting. When she catches, she sort of snatches the disc out the air. And then again, with her throws, there is no faking or hesitation. It's, I'm stepping and I'm throwing, and it's done in under like a second, basically, which is, I've never seen a player like that before, and it's really refreshing, and I can't even imagine how you'd sort of play defense against that, because she just looks like she makes the decision and does it all in one go, whereas sometimes you can kind of see the decision being made on a player's face and you can guess what they're going to do. So yeah, clearly something very lethal, and the USA are capitalizing on it, and the players are happy to support her in that style of play.
Yeah, she was the ideal candidate to have in the middle of that fast starting weave that they had there, driving that forward, but a mistake from her led to their first turnover. They got it back and they scored, and Japan trying to keep this game alive. Yeah, Takura. Yeah, and Shima and Takura, number 1 and number 11, flowing so nicely down the edge of that pitch. They're going to find a disc into space, but pressure from the USA in the form of the high-reaching Alika Johnson. Getting up, reading the disc so well.
Yeah, really good to see. I mean, USA just had nothing to answer to that, maybe a straight-up force. But here I think you're about to see some big throws come out. The USA are going to take this game away.
So they are with the disc with an opportunity to win the game. A slightly uneven start to Meister. And this time it's Olsen. Olsen's with an opportunity to send it down pitch. The disc was a little bit of a racy one, but now it's going up, and it's going deep, and it's going to race away. It's too deep, it's too far. And the 77 shirt of Nora Landry with a thankless task of watching the disc sail away from her, having done all the hard work to get down there. That's quite an imposing face mask that Olsen's wearing down there. So obviously she's using it for protection, but I've not seen that on an ultimate pitch before.
No, our own Jackie Verrills over in UK has one, recently shattered her cheekbone after laying out into someone, so hopefully it wasn't anything too serious.
And the Japanese once more getting space, but there's going to be pressure underneath this disc, and the verticality. Oh, second time round, what action we're seeing here. The Japanese player was Mana Dante, and the 52, Erin Schroeder. But the straight up, fantastic work from Schroeder with that second time layout. First time D up high, the second time D out low. The work from Schroeder is incredible. Olsen, third time lucky for Olsen. She keeps the disc up. She'll be pleased for that one. Lowry. Running out of options. Who's that to? Oh, what a take, what a grab. Incredible grab from Normile. Sends it across to Schroeder. Schroeder's got Olsen waiting. Olsen sends it low. Oh, and Normile's there again once more. Caroline Normile wins it for the USA. Amazing stuff. Catching that disc she had no right to catch. High up, a fast disc coming over her head. Making space and making that final cut. The USA win this one 17-13. A fantastic game we've seen out here, Jules, but the USA making all the ground early on with that fast start to get an early lead. They were 5 points up very early on, 8-4, and then I think we had 9-4 as well. And the Japanese have played the better frisbee in the second half of this game, I think, but the USA have held their nerve and held on for the victory. Well done, USA.
Yeah, great work, USA. I mean, when it comes down to the crunch, they had the blocks, they had the throws, they had the breaks, and that just shows, you know, kind of the level of ultimate coming out of the US. But Yeah, that second half, well done Japan for keeping it together, keeping the fight, and really actually showing us what that team is about, because I don't think we saw it in those first few points. But again, I mean, that's the game of Ultimate. The minute, you know, you have to start the minute that disc goes up, otherwise a team like US is going to get 5 points on the board before you even know what's happened to you. So great play to USA, great play to Japan. What a fantastic game to watch, and hopefully both teams will carry on and do well in the rest of the tournament.
Very real chance that this might be the final of these two teams here. Colombia obviously one to watch, and the Germans will probably be stinging a little bit after they lost that very close game against Colombia. Now, if you're beaten by a team early in a tournament, then you face them again later in that same tournament. What's the psychology of that, and how do you turn that defeat into something positive going into the second game?
So there it can play both ways. If you've won already, then you could get a little bit complacent and maybe be a little bit arrogant, thinking, well, we beat them before, whereas the other team are gunning for it. But the other team, I mean, it just depends. If they're mentally tough and they think, right, well, we've got nothing to lose and we're going to go into this game hard, then, you know, suddenly the tables could turn. But if you think, oh, we've already lost to this team before, we might lose again, then that's no good either. So I think there it comes down to the mental game of Ultimate, and the atmosphere within the team, and how you build that and build your own momentum. And there I'd say, like, as long as Japan stays strong and everything, I don't think it would mean anything to them to face USA again, having come off the back of a loss. I think both teams are of a high enough caliber that, you know, that game that they're going into, if they were to face each other again, would just be, this is a game and basically the past doesn't really mean anything.
Well, if you have been watching online, the chat room next to our window, Mike has been over there in the tent trying to keep that up to date. I'm sure the comments have been flowing in. We'll have a chance to have a look at them later. If you'd like to give us any feedback on our coverage so far, obviously we're here all week and we'd love to hear from you about anything that's going well, something that we'd like to see improved. Let us know. We'll try and work on that throughout the week, and we're looking forward to some great Ultimate. I'm going to say thanks to Jules Murray for joining me in the commentary box. I hope you've enjoyed your time up here, Jules.
Thank you very much. I've loved it, Tom.
And so it's Tom Stiles and Jules Murray signing out for now. We'll be joining Skyed coverage again tomorrow. Myself, David Price and Liam Grant covering some of the games. And we might see Jules back up here either tomorrow or later in the week if we can fit it into a busy coaching schedule. Until then, I hope you've enjoyed this coverage, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Thank you very much.